Hey, we're back. We're talking building athlete knowledge, developing athlete skill, and boiling it down to today's lesson. We're talking about designing a learning plan and developmental plan for our athletes. Okay, much of this, what we're talking about, is pulled synthesized from Fergus Connolly, Dr. Fergus Connolly's Game Changer: The Art of Sports Science, and the recent Coach's Guide to Teaching by Doug Lamothe. Both fantastic texts, not just for sport, not just for coaches, not even just for teachers, but for people that work toward developing learning and developmental environments for really any youth or elite level athlete that's moving forward throughout their career. Last video, we talked about three different aspects of building athlete knowledge. The first being designing a learning plan that's longitudinal over a period of time. It could be throughout a career. It could be through a year. It could even be over a period of time, like 8 weeks or even a month. We talked about organizing a game model. Okay, so essentially that is the organization's philosophy about how we're going to attack both the scheme, how we're going to play, but also the scheme of how we're going to develop our athletes, understanding that we're all in on the same plan and we share commander's intent, which is essentially everyone knows the main outcome goal that we're trying to achieve, and we all work within our expertise to achieve that goal. And then finally is the development of a common language so that we can all fluently and efficiently speak to one another and our athletes throughout this period of time. Okay. Also keeping in mind that athlete development is far from linear. We would all wish that it would be straight line from young athlete to advanced amateur to elite level. But in all honesty, most of the time it is very, non-linear is what we call the path of our athletes. There's ups, there's downs, and we need to think about this as educators as we're developing our athletes. Today, we're going to dig heavily into the learning plan. Okay, so in education, you may see this also called the curriculum, but for us, it's just a developmental plan. It's a learning plan. It's our plan for how we are going to get an athlete from point A to point B. Has 4 elements to this learning plan. We're going to simplify it into four components that we can quickly infuse within our plan, our larger developmental process for our athletes. And it starts with knowing where we're trying to get. Okay, we're knowing where we're going to be heading essentially. So what is my goal? So physically, if we're in the weight room and I'm targeting max strength, moving weight really without the regard for speed too much, I'm trying to develop a strong athlete, I'm going to design my plan to have my athletes involved in lifting heavy weights. It could be multi-joint movements. It could be auxiliary movements, but it's all supporting the final goal of achieving max strength. That goal could be achieved with low rep ranges, 1, 3 reps, whatever it is. The athlete is moving a lot of weight. That's my goal. So that's how I'm designing my plan. If I'm out on the field and I'm teaching athletes a skill, I know exactly what I want them to do, essentially as the end product. So I'm going to really plan to put them in position to achieve that goal. If I'm in a classroom, I know exactly what I want my athletes to learn. If I'm studying math, if I'm studying English, or if I'm studying this scheme that we're going to play on Saturday, I know exactly what I want them to learn to be able to produce on the field or the court. So I'm going to really work toward planning to achieve that goal so they can master that goal. The second thing, after I know where I'm heading, I'm going to essentially work backwards. I'm working in reverse, essentially. So reverse engineering. I know where I need to be, and I'm going to strategically work backwards to ramp myself up to that. So along that period of time too, I'm going to have benchmarks. So at the end of each week, I'm going to assess my athletes and say, hey, are we improving? Do I need to continue to progress? Maybe activities, maybe learning opportunities, exercises in the classroom. Do I need to adjust or modify my drill, or do I need to slow down? These checks for understandings and understanding where we are in the developmental process allows me to make sure that I am still heading in the right direction. So the first one, I need to know my goal. The second element is I'm going to essentially work in reverse. I'm reverse engineering. Next one is I want to strand key concepts. Doug Lemov talks quite frequently about revisiting concepts to work against what he calls the forgetting curve. And that's going to allow our athletes to really internalize what we're talking about. So I can learn a topic. If I'm a student, I can learn a topic today and I can know it, but then I get off into some different things. Maybe I go to practice, and the longer I go without getting back to that topic, it kind of starts to go away from my mind. So the more times I can come back to that topic as a teacher and talk about a specific concept, it's going to allow my athletes to guard against forgetting that topic. And I'm essentially reinforcing learning. Okay. So when we think about stranding it, we want to have key big ticket items that are stranded across an athlete's career. That could be our game model. That could be elements of our philosophy of how we exist as an organization. I may have certain things that are going to strand across a season, maybe the scheme that we're playing on a certain defensive front or a pressure, or the way that we're going to have different signs on a field, whatever it may be. It could even be stranding concepts across a week, maybe as I'm preparing for an opponent. Okay, but I'm going to strand key concepts so my athletes do not forget them over time. The last element is I'm going to consider the depth in which I go with my topics. In sports science, our field that we work in here, oftentimes there's a lot of different divisions within the same field. Okay, so within a sport, there may be a lot of different divisions, maybe positionally, maybe philosophically from different geographical areas. I mean, we can go deep in a lot of different areas. But essentially, when we're teaching, especially early on, and we're developing our learning plan, we need to be cautious of how deep we go. A lot of times we can have a level of depth, let's say 20% roughly, that we can go and cover a lot of content, and then we can come back and add to that later. But we're always considering our depth. We don't want to go down a rabbit hole so much that it's hard to come back and teach the bigger concept. So the 4 elements that we're really working on is let's have a goal, know where we're going so we can design a plan to get to that goal. Once we have that goal, let's work in reverse. Okay. During that process of working in reverse, we're going to strand key concepts and make sure that they occur frequently in the classroom and on the field setting. And then finally, I'm going to consider depth of my conversations within any given area. So if I'm talking about a certain offensive defensive scheme or a strategy to field a ground ball or to hit a ball or to shoot, whatever it may be, I may provide a little bit of history. I may provide a little bit of foundational knowledge and maybe where we're going, but I want to be cautious in going too deep too quickly. Okay. The last thing we'll leave you with is anytime we can find a way to infuse technology while we're planning or we're delivering educational opportunities, it's going to allow us the ability to continue to scale these opportunities to other situations. So if I'm teaching one class, if I'm teaching one position group and I can video that session, I can then send it to recruits. If I can design a curriculum or take notes on an iPad, I can quickly send these to my team, and it allows me to be very efficient. So anytime we can infuse technology, we're going to impact our ability to scale and reach more people. Okay. And I will say, we should not let technology inhibit us in our productivity if it slows us down too much. But we want to always be open-minded to consider the impact that technology can have, both on our instruction and planning, but also on athlete learning and development. The final thing we'll talk about today is anytime we're developing a learning plan or an opportunity to influence athlete development, it's always powerful to enlist the help of our sports performance team. That could be members from athletic training, the sports staff, strength and conditioning, sports science, performance psychology, members from the academic community, any supporter that's part of your high performance unit that has the main goal of driving athlete development and athlete health. They can offer unique perspectives and diverse thought to allow us to address certain problems. To create that performance unit, let's always address athlete-centric approach. They're at the center of every conversation. We're going to make communication a priority. We're going to be communicating ahead of time and often. We're going to emphasize planning and evaluation. You notice we talk about that today here as well. And then we want to establish a radically open-minded organization where we are learning every day.